Arguably the most important effect in any producer's arsenal is their reverbs. Reverbs can be used to add depth and space to a mix, or they can be used as creative tools for transitioning or sound design. So finding a new reverb plugin that just clicks can be a really big deal. And in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating my new go-to reverb, which is Crystalline by BabyAudio. So if you've watched any of my beat making videos, often I'll go to the spaced out reverb by BabyAudio, which is sort of like a reverb delay plugin. But Crystalline just takes this to a whole new level. It's got the same sort of angelic shimmer sounds, but with additional tools for sound design. It's got tempo syncing and some really great tools for cleaning up the reverb and tidying up the mix. So it's just instantly becoming a go-to reverb plugin for me. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what it does and how it sounds, and then I'll be making some music with it at the end. And also, if this video hits 300 likes, I'll be giving away a free BabyAudio plugin. So it could be Crystalline or it could be something else. So all you got to do to enter is drop a like on the video and drop a comment, and I'll randomly select someone to win the prize as soon as it hits 300 likes. So be sure to like and comment for that. But to kick things off, I'll just start by demoing the interface and all of the great features that this plugin has got. And a quick disclaimer as well, I'm not sponsored or paid to say any of this stuff. This is all my own opinions of the plugin. So yeah, just getting that out of the way. And here is the interface of the Crystalline plugin. So all of the demos that I was playing in the introduction were also using Crystalline, and then I'll be making a beat with it a little bit later. But for now, this is the Crystalline interface. And with all the BabyAudio stuff, you've often got a dark mode, which looks much nicer. There's also an option to resize this, which is quite cool to have. A lot of VSTs don't use that feature. But this is the general preset. So this is my guitar dry, and I'll just throw on the first preset, which is super spacey. So probably a little bit heavy, so you can use the dry and the wet slider to adjust to your taste. So the thing I love about this is the amount of features that it's got. So it's got the same sort of lush, ethereal reverb that you've got with the spaced out plugin, but on top of that, it's got a lot of adjustability. So I'll just go through and explain what everything does real quick. So over here in reflections, you've got size, which is obviously the size of the reverb that it's emulating, from a sort of super small to a spacey massive, which can give it a longer tail, and it adjusts how it sort of the sound reflects and reverberates. And then you can go to like a little tiny room and you'll get a much different sound. You've also got this feature which I'm always cranking right up, which is sparkle, and that is sort of emphasizing the higher end frequencies in the reverb. So it just gives it that more sort of really bright ethereal reverb sound. A sort of really nice shimmer. Next, you've got the width, which is pretty self-explanatory. It just adjusts the stereo space of the mix. So you can crank it right down for like a mono sound, or you can crank it right up for a super wide, which can be great for adding ambience and textures. Obviously, I'm demoing this all on the guitar, but I've really liked the sound of the synths through this, as well as piano and other lead melody. So I'll demonstrate more of that in a bit. So that's width. You've got a resolution feature. So like with Ableton's own reverb, you can change it from a sort of higher resolution, which is pristine, or a lower, less CPU demanding resolution. Not a huge difference in the two, so I usually just go for the sort of higher pristine value, and if I'm getting too CPU heavy, I can always flatten the track, and that's fine. Next, in depth, you've got modulation, which is effectively adding a sort of minor pitch shifting, which can be great to add a little bit of character to quite a sort of stale and flat sound. If you've got like a synth that's not got much going on, you can increase the modulation and it'll give it a little bit more of an interesting and varied sound, which is really nice. And then you've also got the shimmer in the depth, and what this does is effectively increases the length of certain frequencies in the reverb. So for example, I can give the 8 kHz range a 6-time increase, which means that the 8 kHz range is going to extend a little bit longer, so it gives it that more lush and bright sounding reverb. If I crank this up a little bit, you've got that sort of reverb tail, as opposed to a different frequency band, or just having it off altogether. Gives it more of a sort of flat reverb response. So that's a really nice one to have as well. And then before I go over the sync features, you've got the cleanup and the shape as well, which are two great features to have built into a reverb. So if you're using a reverb, as I am now on a track, and you're not using send, it can be great to have the adjustability within the reverb to cut out some of the lower frequencies. So with the dampening, you've got the low pass filter and the high pass filter, which you can adjust by controlling the size of this circle. So if you want to cut away the frequencies below 500 hertz, you can do that, and you can keep increasing it if you just want the top end shimmer. Which is a really nice feature to have, because it means that you're not going to muddy up your mix with all of the low end if you don't need it. So if I'm just doing a guitar lead, I can just have the high end shimmer as opposed to something like this. Just cut away all of that muddy low end that I don't want in the guitar. And it's just brighter and it shines through a little bit nicer without interfering with the mix. And then a similar feature is the size feature. So this is just getting rid of the stereo field. So if I turn the high pass filter off, so the reverb's not getting cut at any point, and then the sides will effectively make everything below a certain frequency mono, which is again another feature for a clean mix. So rather than this super spacey guitar chord, I just want the mix to be a little bit cleaner, so I can cut away all of the stereo information below a certain frequency. So let's say 1000 hertz. So then everything above 1000 hertz has still got the stereo width, but everything below is just mono, and it works great on the low end to stop it from getting too chaotic. So that's a great feature. And then you've also got this gate feature, which is like a sort of 80s gated reverb. So you've got two controls on here. You've got the release on the right hand side of the circle and the threshold. So it effectively means that anything below the threshold, the reverb's going to cut off. So if I make that really obvious, this is all above the threshold. When it starts to get quieter, the reverb will start to cut off. And you can see there it's sort of cutting off and went back in, then cut off again. So now it's below the threshold, reverb's gone, which is a nice feature to have and can be a great one for drums. So if you want to have that sort of Phil Collins snare sound from the 80s, gated reverbs. So that's nice to have. Next, onto the shape features. So you've got a tone control, which changes it from a sort of very bright to a very dark sound. So if you don't always want the bright, ambient, lushy sort of reverb, you want a bit of a darker, moodier one, you can do that here. So if we go fully bright or fully dark, that's a nice feature to have. And I should also mention I'm going very heavy on the reverb, noted, just to make things a little bit more obvious. I wouldn't usually have it this wet on a guitar channel. Just get that out there now. You've also got the smoothing, which is a feature that uses their sort of AI EQing to get rid of generally more resonant frequencies in the reverb. So that would clean it up, or you can go down to the triangle where it's all turned off. And again, you probably can't really notice it that much here, but it is a nice tidy up feature to have when you've got a few things going through the reverb, just to tidy up some of the resonant areas. And you've also got this transient control, so you can change it to more sustain focused or more attack focused. So on the transient side of things, the signal coming in, the reverb will focus more on whatever you adjust this to, which again is a nice one to have if you want a nice attack fast reverb response. And then some great features are in the middle as well. Obviously you've got this cool screen, which just makes the Crystalline plugin look amazing. But you also have the sync features. So the sync features basically sync the reverb tail to your BPM of the track. So the reverb will stop in time with sections of the track, which can be a great way to make it sound much cleaner and much sort of tighter in the mix, rather than having just a random delay that fizzles out at some point. You can turn that off and just have a millisecond delay of whatever you want, as with most of the reverbs. But then it's got this sync feature, so it can change when this reverb starts in line with the track. So if you play, the reverb will start perfectly at 9/16. Or then alternatively, you've got the end as well, which is synced, which is the more important part. And this means that if you wanted to stop every time a kick drops in, you can do that. If you've got like a house beat or whatever it is on the snare, it could also cut off. So that's a great feature to have, and it really cleans up the mix. So this is one of the reasons why I love this plugin. So 1/16, or I could crank it up to a full 4 bars and it'll ring out for 4 bars before it cuts off, which is just an amazing feature to have. And I'm really loving that. So yeah, then you've got the ducker feature, which is effectively ducking the reverb out of the way when a new signal comes in. or you've got the dry wet slider here, which is pretty self-explanatory. And then you've got some cool features in the middle as well. So you've got this reverse reverb, so I've got this fully wet. Which is nice for them reverse reverb pads, or if you drop it on like a lead line, you get some additional sprinkles of texture. I'm loving playing around with that on guitar leads. And then you've got this freeze feature as well, which effectively just freezes the reverb when you press it. And then that's just gonna blend for ages now. And what you can do with this is use it for like transitioning or just creating pad sounds. Another really cool feature to have on there. And then as always with the BabyAudio stuff, there's a range of cool presets, which honestly I've not really digged into yet because I've just been loving messing around with the interface. It's super intuitive and you can get some amazing sounds out of that. So that is basically in a nutshell a brief overview of everything that it can do. So now I'm just going to make some music, demo the sounds that it can do. So all the reverbs that you can hear purely from Crystalline. So yeah, here is the beat.